The rain hammered against Emma's car window as the engine sputtered and died for the third time. Her 6-year-old daughter Lily was asleep in the backseat, clutching her worn teddy bear, the same one Emma's mother had given her before the cancer took her last year. Emma's hands trembled on the steering wheel, and she pressed her forehead against it, fighting back tears she couldn't afford to shed. Not now. Not when Lily might wake up and see her mother broken. They had nowhere to go. The eviction notice had given them until midnight, and the digital clock on the dashboard blinked 11:47 p.m. in cruel red numbers. Emma had exactly 13 minutes before everything she couldn't carry in 2 suitcases would be locked away or thrown out. She'd already lost so much: her mother, her job, her savings, her dignity. She couldn't lose her daughter's sense of security too. The car had died on a winding road she'd never traveled before, somewhere in the wealthy hills outside the city where people like her didn't belong. She'd been driving aimlessly, telling herself she was looking for a 24-hour diner or a rest stop, but really she'd just been running from the reality of sleeping in her car with her daughter. Through the downpour, she spotted a light in the distance, a massive estate with iron gates and stone pillars that probably cost more than she'd earn in a lifetime. The kind of place that had security cameras and dogs and people who called the police on trespassers. But the rain was getting harder, and Lily's forehead felt warm when Emma touched it. Too warm. Desperation made her brave. She unbuckled Lily carefully, lifting her daughter's small body against her chest. Lily stirred slightly but didn't wake, her breath hot against Emma's neck. Emma grabbed one suitcase with a free hand and ran through the rain toward those iron gates, her shoes squelching in puddles, her clothes soaked through in seconds. The intercom button glowed like a tiny beacon. Emma pressed it with a shaking finger, then pressed it again when nothing happened. The rain was so loud she almost didn't hear the click of the speaker. "This is private property." The voice was deep, male, and edged with exhaustion rather than anger. Emma's throat closed. She forced words out anyway. "Please," her voice cracked. "My daughter and I, we just need shelter for one night. I'm not asking for money or food or anything except a dry place until morning. Please. She's running a fever and Her voice broke completely. Silence stretched so long Emma thought he'd simply turned off the intercom and gone back to whatever wealthy people did at midnight in their mansions. She shifted Lily's weight, ready to walk back to the dead car, when she heard it, the mechanical whir of the gates beginning to open. Emma stood frozen, unable to believe it was real. The gates swung wide like something from a dream, revealing a long driveway lined with lights that led to a house that looked more like a castle. She walked forward in a daze, each step feeling surreal, expecting at any moment for someone to laugh and tell her it was a mistake. The massive front door opened before she reached it. The man who stood in the doorway was younger than she expected, maybe 35, with dark hair slightly too long, sharp features that might have been handsome if they weren't drawn with exhaustion, and eyes that held a kind of pain Emma recognized because she saw it in her mirror every morning. He wore expensive pajama pants and a wrinkled dress shirt, like he'd fallen asleep at a desk and just woken up. Behind him, a small boy peeked out from behind his father's leg, around Lily's age, with the same dark hair and those same sad eyes. The boy stared at Lily with an intensity that made Emma's heart ache. "Can I stay here just for tonight?" Emma whispered, water dripping from her hair onto the marble entryway. "I swear we'll be gone by morning. I just need my daughter to be warm and dry. Please." Lucas Ashford, though Emma didn't know his name yet, didn't know he was the CEO of Ashford Industries or that his face had been on the cover of Forbes magazine 3 months ago, studied her face with an expression she couldn't read. His gaze moved to sleeping Lily, lingered there, and something shifted in his features. His jaw tightened with some unreadable emotion that looked like recognition or memory or grief. "My son lost his mother 2 years ago," he said quietly, so quietly Emma almost didn't hear over the rain still pounding outside. "I know what desperation looks like. I know what it feels like to hold your child and wonder if you're enough to keep them safe." He stepped aside, pulling the door wider. "Come in. Both of you." Emma nearly collapsed with relief, her knees actually buckling slightly, but Lucas moved forward quickly and caught her elbow, steadying her with a gentle but firm grip. His hand was warm and solid, the first kind human touch she'd felt in months. "Thank you," Emma breathed, tears mixing with rain on her face. "Thank you so much. I promise we won't be any trouble. I'll leave first thing in the morning and you'll never—" "One condition," Lucas interrupted, his voice suddenly firm, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Tomorrow morning, you tell me the truth about why you're really running. Not the surface story. The real one." Emma wanted to argue that she'd already told him the truth, But something in his gaze told her he saw deeper than that. He saw that she wasn't just running from an eviction. She was running from failure, from grief, from the crushing weight of trying to be everything her daughter needed when she felt like nothing at all. "Okay," Emma whispered. Lucas nodded once, then looked at his son. "Dylan, can you show our guests to the blue room?" The small boy's eyes widened with something that looked like hope, and he reached out tentatively to touch Lily's hand where it hung limply over Emma's shoulder. "She can sleep in the princess bed," Dylan said softly, his voice rusty like he didn't use it often. As Emma followed Dylan up a grand staircase that belonged in movies, Lucas watched them go with an expression that mixed guardedness with something else, something that looked almost like relief, as if maybe they weren't the only ones who needed rescuing tonight. Emma woke to sunlight streaming through silk curtains and the smell of pancakes wafting up from somewhere below. For a disorienting moment, she forgot where she was, forgot about the rain and the dead car and the desperate plea at the iron gates. Then it all came rushing back, along with a spike of panic. What time was it? She'd promised to leave first thing in the morning. But then she heard it, Lily's laugh. Not the quiet, careful laugh her daughter had perfected over the past year of watching her mother struggle, but a real, uninhibited giggle that rang through the house like music Emma had forgotten existed. She threw off the impossibly soft covers and followed the sound downstairs, her heart pounding with something that felt dangerously close to hope. The kitchen was enormous, all marble countertops and professional appliances, but somehow it felt warm. Lucas stood at the stove, his expensive suit replaced with faded jeans and a grey t-shirt that made him look younger, more human. He was flipping pancakes with surprising skill while his son Dylan and Lily sat at a breakfast bar, their heads bent together over a colouring book, giggling conspiratorially. Lucas glanced up when Emma entered, and something flickered across his face. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction. "Good morning. Coffee's fresh. Sit." It wasn't really a request, more of a gentle command, and Emma found herself obeying, sliding onto a stool next to Lily. Her daughter looked up with syrup on her chin and stars in her eyes. "Mommy, Mr. Lucas makes Mickey Mouse pancakes and Dylan has a treehouse and can we stay for lunch too? Please." The words tumbled out in a rush of excitement Emma hadn't heard in so long she'd almost forgotten Lily could sound like that, like a normal, happy child. "We'll see, baby," Emma said carefully, running her hand over Lily's hair. She looked at Lucas, who was plating pancakes with the precision of someone who did everything with precision. "You didn't have to do all this." "Dylan insisted," Lucas said, but the slight smile tugging at his mouth suggested he hadn't needed much convincing. He set a plate in front of Emma, a perfect Mickey Mouse pancake with blueberry eyes. "Eat. Then we talk." That was the condition, remember. Emma's stomach clenched, but she nodded. She managed to eat a few bites while watching the kids chatter about cartoons and favorite colors, marveling at how Dylan seemed transformed from the silent, haunted child who'd peeked from behind his father's leg last night. Lily had that effect on people. She was sunshine even when Emma felt like rain. When the kids ran off to see Dylan's room, Lucas poured 2 fresh cups of coffee and gestured to the living room. Emma followed, her heart hammering. The room was beautiful but lived in, with toys scattered in one corner and photographs on the mantel, Lucas and Dylan, and some with a beautiful woman who must have been Dylan's mother. "Sit," Lucas said again, settling into an armchair across from her. "Then talk. The truth this time, Emma." She startled at hearing her name. She'd introduced herself last night, but hearing him say it now felt intimate somehow. Emma took a shaky breath and told him everything. The medical debt from her mother's cancer treatment that had consumed every penny of savings. The landlord who'd raised her rent 3 times in 6 months until it was impossible. The job she'd lost when she couldn't afford childcare and had to miss too many days taking care of her dying mother. The interview she'd had lined up for yesterday that she'd missed because her car broke down. The crushing, suffocating feeling of failing her daughter no matter how hard she tried. Lucas listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable except for a tightness around his eyes that suggested he understood more than she expected. When she finished, he pulled out his phone and made 3 calls right there in front of her. The first was to someone named Jennifer. "I need you to set up an interview for Emma Richardson. Marketing director position. Today if possible. Yes, I'm serious. Trust me on this one." The second was to someone named Marcus. "I need a list of family-friendly apartments in the Riverside district. 2 bedrooms, reasonable rent, good schools nearby. Yes, by this afternoon." The third was to someone named Patricia. "I'm sending you information on a medical debt case. Pro bono. I want this handled as aggressively as legally possible. The creditors have been predatory." Emma sat frozen, unable to process what was happening. Within an hour, she had a job interview scheduled at Ashford Industries for 3 o'clock that afternoon, a list of 5 affordable apartments already loaded onto Lucas's tablet, and a lawyer who specialized in medical debt negotiation calling her phone to schedule a consultation. All free of charge, all real, all happening so fast her head spun. "Why are you doing this?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You don't know me. I could be anyone. I could be lying about everything." Lucas was quiet for a long moment, his gaze distant. Then he stood and walked to the mantel, picking up a photograph of the beautiful woman Emma had noticed earlier. Her name was Rachel. 3 years ago, she left me and Dylan because she said I chose work over family. Said I was never home, never present, always prioritizing the company over them. His voice was raw, stripped of the polish she suspected he usually wore like armor. I told her she was being dramatic, that I was building our future, that she'd understand eventually. 2 weeks later, she died in a car accident on her way to her sister's house. She was leaving me, and I was too proud and too stupid to stop her. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Lucas, I'm so sorry." "Dylan didn't speak for 8 months after she died," Lucas continued, still staring at the photograph. "Not a single word. The therapist said it was selective mutism brought on by trauma. He'd talk eventually, they said, when he felt safe enough. Last night, when you were upstairs settling Lily in the blue room, Dylan tugged on my sleeve and spoke his first full sentence since Rachel died." Lucas's voice cracked slightly. He said, "Daddy, can the little girl stay for breakfast? She looks like she needs pancakes. You gave my son something I couldn't. Hope that family can exist again, that our house doesn't have to feel like a museum of grief." Emma wiped her tears, understanding flooding through her. "We are both trying to figure out how to keep going for our kids." "Yes," Lucas said simply. He turned to face her fully. "I don't know how to repay you for what you gave Dylan last night, but I can help you get back on your feet. Let me." "I don't know how to repay you either," Emma whispered. Lucas's expression softened into something that looked almost vulnerable. "Have dinner with us. Tonight and tomorrow night. Keep coming back until Dylan stops smiling, or—" He paused, and when his eyes met hers, Emma felt something shift in the air between them, something warm and terrifying and full of possibility. "Or until you realize you don't want to leave either." Emma should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries, should have protected her heart and Lily's heart from the inevitable disappointment. But upstairs, she could hear both children laughing, and Lucas was looking at her like she was something precious rather than something broken, and for the first time in a year, Emma felt like maybe she could breathe again. "Okay," she said. "Dinner tonight." The smile that broke across Lucas's face was like sunrise, and Emma realized that maybe they were both learning the same lesson, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone help carry what you've been holding alone.